Many would agree that today's educational system for youth is not as ideal as it could be, but what does an alternative solution look like, and how can we help create it? This is Skull Babylon, and you're about to listen to episode 79 of Paradigm Shift Radio, as we welcome on our guest Joyous presence to talk about the variety of projects he is involved with that are helping create solutions and scenarios that focus on core essences that allow a child's innate brilliance to thrive. Projects such as this, along with Paradigm Shift Radio and the full global community project of Paradigm Shift Central, are pivotal in the development of our ongoing story. So if you're a fan of Paradigm Shift and the service it provides, then we want to invite and remind you to help be involved with supporting the ongoing creation of free conscious media and more by becoming a monthly supporter for Paradigm Shift Central. For only a micro contribution of $1 a week or $4 a month, you can help ensure the continued production of more free, entertaining, educational, inspirational content that the project provides. Sign up as a monthly Paradigm Shift Central supporter at paradigmshiftcentral.com/donate, and thank you for helping create a brighter future. Be sure to check out more of the insightful community conversation beyond the immediate episode by listening to the Paradigm Shift Radio After Party, linked into the YouTube version of this episode, and even get involved with future after parties to practice adding your voice. Help take the shift even further by sharing this and past episodes with your friends, get involved with more interactive aspects of the community, continue the conversation and action where you are, and enjoy the flow.
The future. The mere idea brings plenty to mind. What will it look like? What will it feel like? Well, as some may say, the best way to predict the future is to help create it, which is exactly what we are doing here tonight, once again. This is Skull Babylon, and you are listening to Paradigm Shift Radio. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. Again, as I said, to another exciting, educational, inspirational, community co-created episode. And tonight's episode is going to be all about education of the future. And we got a wonderful guest on tonight, a visionary man named Joyous Presence, who's going to be telling us about a very exciting foundation and project that he is helping bring into this reality to be able to help create a space for us to be able to help educate the children of tomorrow, or rather educate the children of today to be able to help them for tomorrow, and to be able to create those foundations, to be able to plant a seed. There's an interesting quote that I posted on my Facebook not too long ago. It said, "Somebody is sitting underneath the shade of a tree today because somebody planted a seed long ago," which is again kind of going what we're going with here today. And of course, thank you so much for everybody who is a part of this, because simply by listening to this, simply by being inspired by the content that you are hearing here tonight on the show, it is planting that seed. We are putting forth that intention that this show will help plant those seeds of inspiration in your mind to make you reflect and make you think, what is there that I can do? What is there that I can contribute within my immediate community, within the online community, to help be able to add to this ongoing story that we are living, that we are telling, this ongoing story of us as spiritual beings in human form. And it's a very, very exciting story. So we will be getting rolling officially with the main content. And before we do that, I just want to give a couple community shout-outs to some people who I've been really inspired by, and I want to share that inspiration with you guys to help encourage you to be able to be inspired even further. And of course, those of you who haven't checked it out yet, this whole project, ParadigmShiftCentral.com, I normally introduce it right off the bat. Long story short, it is a portal for conscious media and global community growth. So in addition to the radio show, through the website you will find a plethora of awesome community videos, as well as a lot of videos that I myself have been creating over the past 5 years to help document this ongoing project and our ongoing story. And there are also physical paradigm shift communities all across the world. So not only is this radio show reaching out to people globally, but the people who are listening to this radio show, who are part of this paradigm shift global community, are creating local physical paradigm shift communities where they are, that focus on open-minded discussion and meditation. And a very simple thing to be able to set up, and that is something that we want more people to do. And that's what I wanted to be able to tell you guys. I just want to give a shout out to Jason and as well as Brian. These guys, they're some of the younger admins for Paradigm Shift communities, and both of them are really just like getting it done and very effectively. Jason is with Paradigm Shift Fayetteville, and I'll post a link for that into the live chat. And Brian is in Southern California. And just within one day of me talking to him and one day of me introducing this project to him, he's already been inspired to create a paradigm shift community where he is. That's going to help create a foundation for him to be able to build a Zen garden in his community. And he's doing some fundraising where he is as well. And he's using the tools at his disposal. He's got a GoFundMe account up, so expect to hear more about that. And these are both guys who I would like to have on the radio show at some point, just to hear a little bit more about what they are up to. And again, with Jason, with his stuff in the Fayetteville community, he's in high school and he started up a Paradigm Shift Club in his high school, and he has said like the last meeting that he had already had like 20 to 30 people out at it. So again, big shout out to Jason and Brian for being able to lead by example, for them to be able to make the differences. And the biggest thing about these Paradigm Shift communities, and this is something that our good friend Osophical talked about last week on the show, and he's going to be on the show again tonight. These Paradigm Shift communities, they're not about just like trying to immediately accomplish something just like in a concrete fashion, but rather if you can become friends with people, that is the most important thing. Like, you don't have to know exactly what the outcome is going to be, but if you can create a space where people can begin to just like emotionally become invested and begin to feel that they are a part of something, to know that they are a part of something, and to create those friendship bonds, that's a very powerful thing. So I know that Jason and Brian, what you guys are already getting started is planting that seed that is creating that network for more people to be connected, for more people to be able to say like, hey, I'm obviously not the only one. There's other people who want to be able to do something to help create the future, to help create a brighter future for everyone. So again, big shout out to them, and you can find the links for the Fayetteville in the community list at paradigmshiftcentral.com/communities. And of course, check out that list. See if there is a Paradigm Shift community where you are, and if there isn't, then consider starting one. It's not too hard to do so. And again, you can find all the links through the main website on how to do that. And just in other terms of community news, those of you listening to the show, you guys are in sync for a chance to win some free shift buttons. And the way how we do that is by sending, all you have to do to win some free shift buttons, and let me just introduce that. The shift buttons are tools that we use to be able to connect with people where we are. They have consciousness evoking imagery on them, as well as the websites for paradigmshiftcentral.com and the radio show. And all you have to do is, if you see someone sitting at a bus stop, you can just walk up to them. And whereas normally, if you didn't have a button, it would be kind of a little bit awkward to start up a conversation. Here, these buttons are a valuable tool to be able to just be like, hey, sir, would you be interested in a button? They're like, sir or ma'am, like, here, I have a gift for you. Take this button. They're just like, whoa, like, thanks. Like, this is really, what's this about? And then you'd be like, oh, it's this global project about just encouraging open-mindedness and promoting love. And you can check out the website, and there's a radio show, and you can get connected through the live chat through the main website, and we can connect to each other further there. And again, very simple, but it's an incredibly useful tool. So we're going to be giving out potentially a couple batches of those tonight. We will be giving out at least one. And the way how you can get in for the raffle for those is simply send a message to facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Radio. A lot of you have already liked the page. Like it if you haven't yet. And then just send us a message, say, hey, I would like to be entered to the draw. And then just say anything else you want. You can say, thanks for doing the show that you're doing. This is awesome. And just tell us maybe how you found out about it and what you're up to in your local community. And we would love to hear about that as well. And what will determine as to how many shift buttons we give out by the end of the show will be determined on how much additional funds are raised before the end of this episode. So for each bit of donation that we receive, we will be giving out additional batches of free shift buttons. And the way how we're raising funds for those, posting a link for this in the live chat now, is by sending funds to GoFundMe.com/ParadigmShiftCentral. So that's a way for us to transmute energy into real life-changing opportunities that other people will be able to use to help build community where they are. So again, this is a very exciting show because it's not just about listening, it's about encouraging you to be able to get involved where you are, and the shift buttons are an amazing tool to do that. So that's one thing that I just want to mention to you guys. And just another thing that I'll mention for you real quick, and then I'll stop spamming you about this for a little bit, is basically since the last show, I've opened up a new opportunity for people to support this project. So whether you're a new listener or you've been listening to, technically, like, this is the longest running co-created conscious community online radio show on the internet. We are 79 episodes in so far. We've been doing this since July of 2012, and this is something that began as a project many years ago, and it's something that I myself and a lot of people are putting a lot of time into, and being the one who produces the episode and everything. There's a lot of energy that goes into it. Long story short, if you want to be able to support the ongoing growth of this project, if you find value in getting this show free every week, then we've created the option for people to become $4 donators, monthly supporters for the Paradigm Shift Central project. And you can go to paradigmshiftcentral.com/donate, and you can sign up for $4 a month to be able to support the project, and those funds are going to also be able to help us launch the next project, the next big project, which is going to be the Paradigm Shift Destiny School, which is a free online educational school that I'll be helping facilitate as well. So again, I posted a link for that in the live chat. So $4 a month, that's less than a fruit smoothie basically. So if that's something you can support, it won't break your bank, and basically it's an awesome way to be able to support the ongoing creation of conscious media. So again, thank you to everybody for tuning in, and thank you for everybody just for everything that you do. So let's get moving on with the show, and let's bring our good buddy Phil on first, check in with him, and then we're going to be bringing on Joyous right after that. So Phil, if you're ready, going to bring you onto the show. Here we go. Yo, brother Phil.
Oh, Happy New Year. Happy Now Here.
Yeah, man.
Happy 2014.
2014, man. This is a big one. Year of the horse in the time. We made it, man. We made Yeah, it's a Chinese zodiac wise. We are in the year of the horse, whereas last year was 2013 Chinese zodiac wise was year of the snake, and a lot of people will sort of associate that with like hidden knowledge, the serpent DNA kind of rising up the spine towards like the brow and crown chakra sort of idea. But no, year of the horse. This is about taking what we have learned and carrying it forward with momentum, being able to carry the weight on our back and travel long distances in order to be able to get in order to do what we need to get done, sort of thing. At least that's how I see it. But yeah, man, how are you? How are you going? How's it going, man? Like I hear you're hanging out with some pretty cool people right now. That's good to hear, man.
Yeah. Well, happy Sunday to you and everyone listening. Yeah, I'm here in Ojai, California. It's a really nice small town about an hour north of LA. And Ojai, it means Valley of the Moon. So it's a little valley in between some mountains, about 30 miles from the ocean. And yeah, right now I'm over at my friend Nathaniel and Amateo's house. They're some amazing paradigm shifters in their own right, and they're helping me to launch a program which starts tomorrow called Conscious Creative Expression.
Nice.
I'm super excited about. And yeah, just enjoying life, doing my best to let the shift hit the fan, you know.
That's right, man. Just paint the walls with that shift. That's right. Yeah, man. Nice.
Hey, were you throwing shift at me earlier?
Oh yeah, man. All right. Go plug your project real quick. Like you got a website up for that yet?
It's launching tomorrow. It's consciouscreativeexpression.com, and it's a 4-week interactive online program providing tools, tips, and community support for expanding creative potential. And it's just going to be a super fun journey through all the challenges that come up with creativity, helping people to increase the audience that they reach with their art, helping to make a living through creativity, and helping to just make connections with other amazing creators.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, those shout out to Amateo and Nathaniel. I mean, those guys are some great guys. We've had them on the show in the past, and obviously I've spent some time with them myself back when I was out in California. And no, definitely, I'm happy to hear that you guys have synced up. That's exactly what this is all about, is being able to collaborate collectively to be able to just add momentum. You know, like don't necessarily need to like reinvent the wheel every time. Those guys know what they're doing, and I'm happy to be able to hear that they're helping you help other people. And then that's kind of how this perpetual learning cycle flows, and we'll be talking about that tonight more with Joyous as well. So cool, man. Was there anything else that you wanted to just mention off the top?
Shout out to any Peaceburg homies listening, or any of my other friends out there. I'm really grateful that you invited me to be on the show as a co-host again, because I think utilizing the internet to build community is extremely important, and that we can all help to spread the Paradigm Shift Network and invite new friends to it, and just get excited about all the amazing stuff happening these days, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. That's right. And let me just, because I was just reminded when we were talking about that, just for everybody listening, if you haven't yet, please check out facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Central. In addition to the radio show, through that Facebook page, that is where specifically you will find the video content that we as a community are co-creating, and also goes up to paradigmshiftcentral.com/IS, which is the inspiration station, which is this ongoing archive of these videos. So check that out. And of course, again, like what Phil was saying, we want to be able to help you share your work with a wider audience. So if you have videos of your own, then just send us a message or send me a message personally on Facebook, facebook.com/SkullBabylon, and I'm more than happy to be able to help you get your inspirational video content out, or maybe even if it's music, conscious music, anything like that. We want to be able to help share it. So yeah, I just want to make sure everybody's in sync with that. Cool, man. All right. Well, with that said, let's continue with where this episode is headed, and that's into the future. I love the future, man. So, well, let's bring on Joyous. So Joyous, he is. I think he's in. As far as I know, he's in California as well. And yeah, let's hear from him and learn more about what this awesome project is that he is involved with and that he is sharing with the world. So Joyous, if you're ready, we're gonna continue from where we left off last episode with our conversation, and let's see where we can take it this episode. So Joyous, if you're ready, bring you on to Paradigm Shift Radio. Here we go. Hello, brother.
Aloha, brothers.
Aloha.
Wonderful to be here.
Right on, man. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Feels like yesterday that we were doing this, and here we are again. So
here we are in a brand new year. A wonderful new
moment. Yeah, man. Cool, man. All right. So, Joyous, Mr. Presence, what? Just letting you introduce yourself. This project, this website, Timeless Earth. What is this? And I'll post a link for that in the live chat. And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Wonderful. Thank you. My core life purpose is to innovate educational paradigms. I believe that by shifting the learning landscapes, we shift our entire mystic and explanatory experience of life. And for me, timeless learning, which was a part of a larger concept called Timeless Solutions, was a project that came through to me as a way to effectively bring forth more open source, student-centric educational solutions to allow students of life to take power back in the process of learning, to really follow innate curiosity to unlock their intrinsic brilliance. We all have a core capacity, deep gifts, and genius that is just looking to be clarified. And so for me, I realized that there were some certain fundamentals that were necessary for an individual to grasp before moving on to a lot of the subjects that were taught in school today, such as how to learn, the science of learning, and your core life blueprint. What is your what? You can't be for real if you don't know why you're here. So what is your life mission? And how does that plug into your passions? And I realized that there were actually exemplary models around the world of schools embodying student-centric or youth-driven educational models where students were encouraged to understand their core competencies before moving on to a more homogenized class schedule. And these students were far beyond their contemporaries in every other kind of learning institution around the world. And so I realized that there were already outlying examples, and yet they needed to be brought to the public awareness, particularly here in the mainstream U.S. So timeless learning for me was the synthesis of a couple of years' worth of work and thought process into how to mix mainstream modern academics into a really empowering environment that's sensorially rich and allows individuals to develop deep somatic or bodily awareness and emotional intelligence and really, really deep intuitive faculties to complement this cognitive capacity that they're learning in the realm of the intuitive faculty or the academic realm. And so to me, the idea was to create a framework then to offer the world's youth, those who are activated, passionate in their power, to co-create along with leading figureheads such as people like Richard Branson, Sir Ken Robinson, Jerry Mint, people who are calling for educational reform on a much higher level and in different echelons of wealth and influence in the world, to combine these into a global leadership learning council and have them effectively shift educational policy while they reinvented certain norms within the educational landscape and helped to design and support various projects that were offering integrated solution sets to move us into a more elevated, enriched learning experience. Mm-hmm. That, for me, Timeless evolved into a host of projects. You know, my core function is to really support today's youth, tomorrow's leaders, to meet with intelligence on all levels the perceived challenges that they are inheriting. You know, we have a young, brilliant generation that is inheriting a very dysfunctional world where we have systems of energetic exchange and food and water and energy that are extremely dissonant and producing great harm and are actually giving them a legacy, giving the children of today a legacy of a less long lifespan potential from statistics at this point. You know, of course, we know we can transcend that, but a less long life expectancy and worse health risk than any generation before in remembered history. We've had this exponential growth curve of generations living longer and longer in our remembered history, and now that's turning around due to the world that children are inheriting. So how do we keep them in their core capacity and stoke their creative expression through allowing them to follow their innate curiosity and through starting to combine the digital and the physical realms of learning into a more unified ecology for personal empowerment and self-enrichment, so that they would then, with joy, grace, and ease, be able to flow into what it is that they are inheriting. Now, Timeless is one of many projects that we now have under a 501c3 or tax-exempt, tax-deductible, not-for-profit foundation that we developed called Transdimensional Illumination. And we have the New Paradigm, the New Earth Academy, a bunch of different projects are coming underneath this structure, which the advisory board for this organization will be the GLLC, or the Global Leadership Learning Council, and it will function as a parent company, if you will, for these many projects, so that a small group of people whose life path, dharma, core genius it is to do things like the administrative and accounting can do that for a host of projects, allowing the different educational innovators and social mavericks who are choosing to step forward and in a big way devote their life to this mission, this huge mission of shifting educational norms, to have more ease and grace in just sharing what it is that they came here to do without worrying so much about the back end. I also created the Timeless Earth Project to complement Timeless Learning, and this idea was one that came to me when I was working with youth, and then I realized, it's amazing to work with these brilliant kids, and they're teaching me at least as much as I'm teaching them, if not a lot more. And yet I was noticing, because I moved quite a bit, and I would do little pop-up events and be with people for short periods of time, that they pined for more, and that they were being sent back to, in many cases, families that were still embodying societal and familial spells and limitations, as my father would call them, compounded, illusory concepts that we have taken on as truth, belief systems that we inherited, that are just as fundamentally flawed as someone saying the world is flat several hundred years ago. And so what we're looking at doing now with Timeless Earth is creating a framework for beyond sustainable or regenerative community development, which contain various structures for different phases within the medicine wheel of life education. So a conscious conception and birthing center, where people learn about how to consciously conceive a child and what is optimal for them to do in the process of bringing forth new life, of the universe embodying itself as a new facet in human form through to individuals that are already here, all the way through K through 12, adult learning, and that the entire community itself would actually, this first template community, would function as a prototype of a living learning solution that integrates the two seamlessly and reminds us that life is the school and love is the lesson. Fundamentally, that is it. Do what you love, do what causes you to thrive, and there's such great abundance in that not a single person will be lacking. So the acronym EARTH actually stands for Educational Alternative Research Timeless Haven, and this was designed to be a living laboratory to bring forth the timeless curriculum and a host of other different learning philosophies as they developed through different pop-up centers, again, beginning with one prototype, where people were actually living the wisdom. I know that you and I parallel quite a bit on certain topics of interest, including sacred geometry and ancient wisdom in modern application now, different dimensional qualities and frequencies and how that correlates to quantum mechanics and advanced technologies of today. So to be able to put these into practice on a daily basis within Beyond Sustainable community where people are living, working, learning together and showcasing the embodiment of not only integrated technology sets, both ancient and modern, that are allowing them to truly experience a more affordable, abundant, healthy, joyful life right now, but also showing the internal technologies, the development, again, of the emotional integrity and intelligence, how to deal with conflict resolution in a truly healthy way, conscious communication. Nonviolent communication is a great movement, but you still have the word violent in there. So conscious communication, how do we become impeccable in our agreements with other people and our ability to have dialogue, which really comes back to the emotional authenticity. So that was another project that's distinct and yet fully intertwined with the timeless movement.
Yeah, there's a lot there, man. There's definitely a lot there, and just kind of reading some of the stuff that people are mentioning in the chat. Just kind of obvious questions. Somebody's just asking: is all of this just concept, or are there some examples of it in place? So I guess what would your response be to that? I mean, is there like a physical classroom, or there's a lot of like digital classrooms and stuff? Like how is this already existing?
Yes. Well, there's, again, as I mentioned, already incredible examples of certain aspects of what I'm talking about, not through this organization, available around the world, like the kin schools, which can be researched in Russia, where the children run the school, and they actually built the school, and they not only are more academically proficient than their counterparts in other types of educational systems, but they also know how to cook, clean, take care of themselves, get up at 6 in the morning, go for a run, do ancient Russian folklore, dance, martial arts. All of this, by the time they get their master's degree on average by 17, these kids generally complete an entire high school curriculum in a year, and it's just by giving them the freedom of inter-age mingling and the empowerment of each individual getting to lead their own learning experience, as well as being seen as an equal member of the human race despite their age. So there are incredible examples in action. How Timeless is doing it, we've spent 2 years developing the framework for the open source curriculum. A couple of websites, timelessearth.com is one of them, as is learningpassion.com and yourhearthub.com. We've developed the 501c3 and the for-profit, which we're using to synergistically offer these solutions forward to the world. And the last website I mentioned that was Your Heart Hub. That is the digital playground that we're building to bring this forward to the world right now. We realized we were focused more on our first prototype center, which we're still actually moving forward on right now, determining which property we want to put it on and actualizing that. And we've been in discussions with funding partners for it. And yet what we really realized in our conversations with parents around the world and youth was that what would be far more significant and have a greater ripple effect would be to create this digital ecoverse for education, where we were basically what Heart Hub is designed to do is take Timeless and hundreds of other learning concepts and philosophies and bridge them together into a centralized database. Much like if you visualize Facebook Connect, it can connect you to tens of thousands of websites. You can sign into them through Facebook or vice versa. They track your information. We'll be doing the same thing in the educational arena, where you can be following accredited and non-accredited wisdom paths side by side, or solely in their entirety alone, and it will all be tracked for you in one centralized learning database. So you're creating a lifelong learning profile through your different educational, which are not always academic, opportunities that can be then verified and uploaded through physical centers having our software embedded in their system, and automatically, through anything that's already done online, automatically tracked back to the hub. So this is a way that we see of putting the power of education back into a student's hand and using learning arcs to bring them from current paths of knowledge or wisdom that they're already on into different viewpoints, different horizons of potentiality. So that we have a prototype being built right now, and it's expected for launch spring this year. And then the larger platform, we're going for funding in the moment because it's most likely a more intensive coding process than something like Facebook was to build. So we have something that's going to come out that will be kind of like an Udemy, if anyone's familiar with that, UDEMY, which allows anyone to create a course and sell it online and keep 100% of the profits for people that they link back and 50% to the people that the system brings to them automatically. It'll be like that, but focalized much more in this type of movement that we're all moving towards, which is consciousness expansion, higher awareness. You know, there's 1.5 million solutions for basic reading, writing, and arithmetic. You got Khan Academy online. You got a lot of great things. Those are wonderful. We want to bridge those into something like Heart Hub, but that's not really what we're seeing is the real juicy learning content of today. And again, that's already so saturated. What we really want to offer people is bits of wisdom that truly expand their awareness of life and allow them to experience one that is much more healthy and joyful than the one that they're currently experiencing.
Yeah, man. Well, I think, definitely. It's interesting because, you know, when people sort of like ask, like, even with the stuff that I'm involved with, like with this whole paradigm shift stuff and something me and Phil were talking about last episode as well, you know, like, why are we doing this? You know, like Uncle Phil, why are you doing all this crazy stuff sort of thing? But I mean, again, you know, the same answer is like, the reason we're doing this is because like, I want to see like a future generation for the kids where they can thrive. And, you know, that word's come up previously and what does it mean to thrive, you know? But I mean, and to really put it out there, to potentially be able to help create a future that, like, down the road, even, like, we ourselves could theoretically, like, reincarnate back into, if you really want to sort of, like, look at it from that side. And in that sense, like, yes, there's a lot of reason to be able to help put the work in now so that it will be able to just, like, flourish in the generations to come. And I think what you're talking about, I think what's so important with teaching children is like teaching them like how to be emotionally connected to something, like how to be passionate with something. And I think that is like kind of, if we were to look at today's educational system, I think that's kind of a problem, like some sort of pandemic that we see today, is that the kids of today are emotionally disconnected from their environment because of the fact that they are just like disconnected or unenthusiastic about what it is that they are teaching. So I mean, like, I think that's where like what you're doing with what creating this foundation is so important, because we want to be able to just like help encourage kids and not make them feel as if like, oh, they're just another cog in the wheel, but, you know, really make them feel that like they are a vital aspect to this collage, to this like epic mandala that we are creating together. But I just want to like pass it over to Phil. Like, Phil, what are your thoughts on the idea of like being able to teach kids about like how to be passionate about something? Like, how do you think we could go about doing that? If you had any ideas off the top of the head.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I honestly believe that kids are already passionate about a lot of things, and that our current education system and just modern mainstream culture at large kind of takes that passion out of kids. For example, the current system where kids are supposed to sit in a chair in a classroom for 6 hours in a day while the sun is shining and the breeze is going outside, it's just like not their natural inclination to just want to sit in a chair for 6 hours. And so I think that just accepting that they're inherently passionate and they have inherent gifts and skills, and just I've heard that the word education, if you look up the roots of that word, it actually means to draw forth. So it means like to draw forth what is already within them, not to like fill up their blank brain with knowledge. It's actually that they're inherently knowledgeable, and that we just have to set up a system that allows it to come out.
Mm. Yeah, no, I definitely, that is an interesting way of looking at the word. I never knew that myself, but no, that kind of makes it obvious. But yeah, Joyous, just kind of on that same lines, like how would you go about creating a system where we can teach kids to be more passionate? Like what sort of maybe examples of like activities, and also something that we can expand the conversation into, like what are some of the things that we should be like helping the kids learn more about, and I mean, just to sort of step back a bit, one of the big things even with this whole consciousness shifting stuff, with a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, I've always thought of the process that it's not even so much about learning something new, but rather remembering something that we already know, and especially if we can sort of emphasize and bring in a really core concept of oneness, and really being able to help, like seriously, if we can teach kids how to be able to see things from that sense of unity at a young age, which I think they already do, but rather just be able to maintain it, to be able to like foster it even more so. Like I'm excited to see like what those kids will grow up to be, sort of thing. But again, Joyous, like how do you plan to go about teaching kids to be more passionate?
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that question. It's definitely a fundamental one. Is how do you stoke that fire that's already within us? And I love what you both said. It's already there. It's about uncovering it, clarifying it. Even if you look at it fundamentally, you know, our DNA holds the codes of life that create an entire new human being. All that we need is within us. We're the perfect alchemist and chemistry sets combined into this amazing individuated perspective of all that is, looking out at itself. So how do you bring people to the realization of that, or rather the remembrance of that, in a world that, again, is filled with noise and interference? Our children today are growing up completely over-inundated in media, much of it very fear-based and violent. I did a whole thing in college, a paper on there's more violence and sexual innuendo in children's cartoons than any other type of programming. It's just constant bombardment of sights and sounds and colors that are given to our children. And again, not just I speak about tastes as well, because they're also being fed food-like substances that are riddling, they're completely jacked up on processed sugar. So the question is, how to reach today's youth that are being saturated in things that are already unhealthy for them. The first thing for me is to get children back outside. The most rewarding thing for me was spending 4 months of my high school educational process in a wilderness camp in the middle of nowhere, really dropping back into myself and getting some primordial life skills under my belt, and really understanding what it meant to be a human being and get connected to the electromagnetic grid of the earth again, which is a very, very high science. There's a whole thing about earthing, and NASA even came out with an article about our connective tissue, when it's at its most healthy, our connective tissue being the thing that connects every major and minor component of our body, including, apparently this is the part that NASA was talking about, piercing through the nucleus of every cell on a microfilament level, literally holding the entire structure together. When this connective tissue is functioning at its most vital, it's vibrating at the same frequency as the earth. So get kids outside, get them barefoot in the garden if you can. I think there's a great movement towards CSA, or community-supported agriculture within schools. That's a great start. Connect people back to their food, make it fun. Make it fun all the way. It's really about playing your way through learning, remembering that education is meant to be a fun process. You're not meant to sit in a room with dead air and fluorescent lights, sitting for 8 hours a day, which for one is just terrible for the body. You know, we're basically destroying children's bodily posture and awareness. By the time you're 21, you've wrecked your spinal. We've all lost our spinal integrity and our neck integrity through the way we were trained to sit. You're not supposed to sit for more than 30 minutes at a time without getting up for at least 5 minutes. We're trained to sit all day, fill a little blanket on a piece of paper, which to our imagination makes us go crazy. And as soon as the crazy ones, like Steve Jobs would say, the misfits and the rebels, the ones who changed the world, as soon as they step out and say, hey, I'm a kid, I want to get up and move, put them on a drug. It's a very twisted way of teaching people.
Yeah,
so I think
really.
if we can already look at the children. The children want to be outside, they want to move, they want to play. And it does come down to a lot of one-on-one. I mean, you really do have to get down to each individual child, and rather than grading them and giving people this fallacy of, if you get this one letter, then you'll succeed. If you get this other one, you're a failure.
Yeah.
Get off that and go back more towards learning portfolios. Like, what is this person's strengths and weaknesses? What is their core competencies? Why are they really here? What's their mission? What's their learning style or styles, predominantly? Which are their strongest ones and weakest ones? So that as each mentor or wisdom share or whatever you want to call them, educator, comes into the life of that student, they're better prepared to meet where that's, in Hawaii, there was one kid who didn't want to learn anything conventionally until I realized that for him, he was part of the whole, Hawaiian hunting type experience. So as long as you frame something around outdoors and hunting for him, he would grasp whatever it was. He'd happily read and happily learn to read as long as you framed it around that. So you find what people's passions are and you stoke that and you let their innate curiosity come out. I don't even know if it's so much the content that's being shared, it's how it's being shared. Just like, speaking of Hawaii, there they have a word called keiki. Keiki means child or young one. It also means seedlings. And it's the most appropriate thing. At the very beginning of this call, I heard you mention something about seeds, planting a seed. We're planting a seed of intention with each child, and with daily attention, we're watching them grow. And we want a beautiful, biodynamic permaculture garden of every flavor imaginable, where each of these different sprouts, each of these different young ones, are enabled to be their core genius. And as Albert Einstein said, not be the fish who couldn't climb the tree. He said that we all have a genius, and yet if you try to teach a fish to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking it's stupid. But go in the water with it and it'll outswim you any day. So the idea is to bring forth that spark of curiosity that's already there, and allow the child to follow it and enable them to follow it, and to be there holding their hand rather than on a pedestal above them, realizing that they have wisdom that we've forgotten or that we may never have known, and vice versa. And this is a journey, this is a collaborative journey of self-exploration, that we may better discover the world together, not from an outdated textbook, but from real-life application. So I think the experiential gamification, if you will, even though that word's totally oversaturated right now, of the educational sphere is a very core component of bringing out that passionate zeal to learn and thus to thrive in life with balanced success. You see kids like Logan LaPlante on TED, genius, right? 13 years old, super articulate, and these kids are setting a precedent for a new type of education. He's calling it hack schooling. And Sir Ken Robinson, I think, would agree with him. He talks about how schools kill creativity, which parallels with what I always say, don't let schooling get in the way of your life education. These young kids are coming out and saying, hey, we view things differently. We come from a totally different time with a totally different technological background with literally different codons activated in our genetic sequencing. So it's time to reinvent how we do this, and it's time for it to be put back in our hands. I think that if a student feels in charge of their educational process with some healthy boundaries, you till the ground for your garden, but then you let the plants grow as they will. We've seen what happened to monoculture crops, and we're seeing the same thing with the minds of students today. The more that we every year we're putting more standardized tests in front of kids, and what's happening every year? Higher and higher suicide rate, higher and higher depression, higher and higher drug abuse. It is not the way to teach children, and you can look at that as reflection in the adult society, where you have 65% obese, where you have 1 in 6 with cancer, 1 in 4 with diabetes. You have a huge health epidemic, and on the happiness metrics, people generally are not very happy. Definitely never truly blissful, but very rarely even happy on a continual basis unless they've just bought that last thing in this consumeristic society that they were raised within. And they keep passing along dysfunctional spells of limitation because they believe that that's the societal norm, that's how their child will thrive, even though they're not thriving. So we see that already our society is a mirror that our educational system doesn't work. It's outdated. It never really was designed to work other than to create factory workers and to get people to agree to authority. There are certain concepts in there that are great, but switch up how we're doing it. And again, start with a different foundation. The fundamental purpose of learning is to discover who you are, discover, reveal. I always like to say that I'm here to help people remember the greatness within them. It's not about finding it outside. There's knowledge, which is a theoretical application of some mental construct that we cram into our mind or our brain. And then there's wisdom, which is a much more tangible, somatic, intuitive experience. I view it as the difference between EQ, IQ, as my father would say, intellectual quotient and emotional quotient. So I really agree with you that first finding that core mission and then developing the emotional intelligence and coupling that, at least in those key formative years, definitely 1 through 7, with most of your time in the learning process outside. Be outside as much as possible, connecting with the natural earth, learning how to have healthy communications with not only yourself and having the self-introspection time, but with the other and with the planet. And the other component of this I see is, again, where we're looking at a synthesis, a bridge, if you will, between the digital and the physical. It's very important for people to have physical socialization. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely terrifying when I see 7-year-old kids walking around, not looking up, staring at their iPhone, knowing what that's doing to their neck curve, knowing what the electromagnetic frequencies of that device in their hand are doing to their body and their brain, which is not fully developed, to their thinner skull. I mean, I'm not into that. At the same time, that's where the world's at. We got 2.5 billion people plugged in every day, steadily growing. It's actually astounding given how many people are in poverty, how many people are actually on the web. And so you got to meet people where they're at. And again, people are used to media. Most children today aren't even really wanting to get their information from reading. Wikipedia was the next source where they get to go source their own information and kind of make their own get a more collective opinion rather than a very biased textbook. But then it's moved now to videos. Everyone wants to upload videos themselves and watch videos of other people. The whole video game explosion in the last 30 years, it definitely shifted the way that information should be shared. And I noticed a lot of people in my generation learned well through video games. Maybe they weren't learning the best things, but they loved video games and that concept. So coupled with these physical learning groups and learning centers tied together through a digital database, we looked off and live-action role-playing games, so connecting people in more fantasy realm where they're learning, they're playing their way through learning through different more mythic or, out of the box isn't the right word, but different ways of perceiving reality and playing with others in real time, in the real world. Connecting all of that to a digital platform that's allowing them to access information that is verified educational content. Does not mean that it needs to be accredited, but verified educational content that is being provided by expert wisdom sharers and educators around the world and the different learning institutions that are plugged into this platform to allow them to grab any data that they want at any time that, again, they're going to know, their parents are going to know, this has validity. It's not just some random person uploading it. These people have been verified and vetted through a certain process to be able to pull that information to themselves and filter it based on streaming or recorded video, ebook, audio, some combination of the above, and or an interactive game itself. And then they're able to play their way through these different lessons. Khan Academy did a great job, again, only focusing on conventional classes, and it was the first iteration of what's to come. But they did a really great job with their learning tree. And you have this fun graphic, and you get to add to your learning tree, and you're playing your way through creating your tree. So the same kind of concept of you're playing your way through your galaxy of wisdom. And everything that you're doing is lighting up new constellations for you within this map that we're creating. Mm-hmm. And you're able to then track and filter your metrics and showcase them in text and graphical format to peers, employers, mentors, as to your unique learning path. You can sort by subject type or field of interest, or just show the overall spread of your personal journey into self and worldly realization. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's really important for people to be able to play and to have the video game component and to be able to learn wherever they want, whenever they want, at any time, but then also to be able to tie that back into the physical groups, which, as I mentioned earlier, weather permitting, climate permitting, really have as much outdoor as possible. You can learn biology and chemistry. You can learn pretty much anything standing outside in the garden. So how are we gonna get kids healthier and moving more, which is going to cause them to be healthier and more inspired, and thus overall experience a more successfully balanced life?
Yeah, man.
All right. Yo, Joyous, can I ask you a question?
Please.
So I'm not sure if you remember, but we briefly ran into each other this year at Burning Man at Center Camp. And I'm just curious what role you see festivals like Burning Man and other ones like Lucidity and these big festivals, what role do they play in the role of education for children and also for people of older generations?
It's a good question, yeah.
That's a phenomenal question. And I'd love for us maybe to each play with answering that if the time permitting.
Yeah.
But for me, they are such an epitome of the fractaling out of the next emergent evolution of human consciousness. You know, pop-up communities that are focused on visionary art, really creative expression of all kinds, and bringing people together from many walks of life to have a experience of love and oneness together, which we can go into the whole feeling state and what love really is on the scale of the consciousness. It's very high up there. By embodying a feeling of love, you're actually able to manifest or allow miracles to appear in your life with much more perceived swiftness and frequency. But for me, you know, these places are safe havens for the emergent worldview of conscious consumers and cultural creatives who are looking for their home in this world where, again, it's been oriented, business as usual has been oriented towards GDP, which is basically the measurement of how much we rape the planet. You know, we grew up in a consumeristic society, lacking indigenous wisdom, lacking connection to the earth. This is the way of us finding our way home, of connecting with the earth and with one another very deeply. And again, especially at something like Burning Man, radical inclusivity. You know, you've got every walk of life there, and everyone's respecting everyone. Everyone's allowed to play together. That is beautiful to me. That is beautiful, and it's such a huge message to send out to the world. I mean, we got countries that have been warring for dozens. I mean, maybe even 100+ years.
They just need to come to Burning Man, right?
That's right. Our Burning Man needs to go to them. You know, like these pods need to go out. We don't need everyone to go to Black Rock City. We don't need them all to fly to Nevada. In fact, that's super unsustainable. Let's start popping these events up in as many places as we can, and it's happening. You know, I'm seeing micro communities and sustainable and transformative festivals popping up left and right. And the fun thing is the confluence of the two. So I'm in discussions with a lot of people now about how to, and this is something Burning Man's been wanting to do for a while, but due to the size of what they're doing and certain aspects of the wild and crazy, full-on creative exploration and expansion, basically being able to do whatever you want, it's been a little harder for them to actually acquire the land they need. But to have smaller, more intimate festivals like Water Woman or Beloved, these things are already happening, and kind of take the country fair model and purchase land with ticket sales so that you can throw that community there every year and start buying it up in different properties. Burning Man has its own magic. The Playa Dust, anyone who's been there knows, it alchemizes and shifts your entire awareness. At the same time, you can put it in more hospitable environments as well, and you can start putting it in every state, every country, allow it to be much more accessible. We're seeing the very beginning explosion of an entire cultural renaissance, which to me is ironic because actually, to answer Brendon's earlier comment about my location, I'm actually in Ashland, Oregon right now, where they have the best of the best Shakespeare plays in the world for 9 months out of the year. So I'm here where people embrace a cultural renaissance, if you will, and here we are in the epicenter of yet another complete shift and transformation of pretty much every facet of our reality, politically, financially, educationally, everything shifting, and it's going hand in hand. We already know we have the technologies to run the entire world on clean energy right now. We already know we have all of the resources to end complete global poverty. It's just about more empowered leaders stepping into places of significant quote-unquote power or leverage, and more people taking the time to come back into their sovereign birthright as a human being and supporting these people like Marianne Williamson and other people who are stepping up, supporting them in really moving forward these policies to allow us all to experience that life. And I'm regressing. I'm kind of diverging here because I'm very excited.
That's great.
I'm very excited. But transformative festivals are essential, I think, to the movement, and they're much easier. They've been much easier to have than putting money into a grounded community. I mean, that's having research back, worked with a lot of teams on that. those are huge initiatives. And to do it on a significant scale where you want to make it scalable and you want to be able to make it something the world can point to as a model, you're talking, $10+ million for a first stage of funding. That's a minimum. So that's been a little bit out of reach for a lot of people and getting together. Transformative festivals have opened us up to playing as a community, to experiencing more humble and yet still modern amenity rich versions of life, to allow our heart to sing, to allow us to. Burning Man's the coolest thing, because you see stuff that you're like, how did you think of that? Like, who thought of a 60-foot tall rubber duck that's a disco ball that's floating through the middle of the desert, or who put their $10 million yacht out here? So it's incredible to see people's imaginations run wild. And I think what the transformative culture has done is it's opened up new ways of education. There's a lot of new educational models coming from these events, these gatherings, and it's also shifted our ability of what's possible in a living environment. So I think it's an essential part of this evolution that we're witnessing right now.
Yeah, definitely hitting on some key stuff there. And got a lot of people interested in the live chat, and there's a couple ideas that were just sort of sparked that I'd love to hit upon there as well, and just throw in some additional insights that we can sort of branch this conversation into. But I want to talk about the festival thing, and I'll tie that in. Actually, I just had an idea that came a little bit before that, and or sort of sharing my own personal experience with what it's like working with children firsthand. And I was fortunate enough last year during the summer to be involved with a free school program that was an experimental program that we did at a local bookstore. It was a Goodwill bookstore, and a very, very conscious family within the community, a man by the name of Charles. It was him, his wife, and they had 2 daughters, and they were the ones who started up this group, and it was purely just like out of just pure love. And it was during the summer for about 2 weeks, and they had myself and another girl as one of the counselors. And then each day for these 2 weeks, we would introduce the morning by having them around the table, and we would introduce them to a specific virtue. And these virtues would be things like patience. These virtues would be things like honor. It would be things like humility. It would be things like friendship, like all these different sort of very valuable life traits, and then sort of creating a discussion out of this and asking them, really engaging them, like, what does this mean to you, And then from there, throughout the rest of the days and the weeks, a lot of the other stuff that we were doing with them that fits into theme with what we were talking about here tonight in terms of what can we teach these kids. We were personally, a lot of it was outside, and I think that was a really great thing too. And as like one of the counselors, I was sort of like walking around with them, and I was like pointing out different leaves to them, and I was like teaching them about like the fractal nature of reality. And I was like, see how this little twig is just like a miniature version of the entire tree? And they're just like, yeah, of course it is. And I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. Good thing you guys are on the ball and everything. But just being able to get them excited about it, and just having them out there in nature and getting them appreciated about it. And then we were also one of the days we were specifically talking about crystals. Me and one of the other counselors, we brought some crystals in, and then we were like talking about them, and then we were doing meditation as well, and we were also doing yoga with the kids, which was a very interesting experience because some of the kids were like a little bit hesitant about the yoga. Some of them are a little bit more antsy and everything, and some of the kids were totally into the yoga. But then in particular, there was like one kid, and he just wouldn't really get into the yoga. But then like noticing that, I would still go out of my way to be able to like spend time with him and to be able to talk to him about the things that he was interested in. For him, it was easier for him to be able to like play on the playground than to be able to do something with yoga. But then if we could play on the playground and turn that into some sort of mindfulness activity, then he doesn't think of it as like, whereas yoga might feel like a chore to him, playing in the playground is just like something that comes natural to him. And what we were talking about earlier, really just bringing the sense of play into the entire educational program is so important, because these kids have such amazing imaginations, and when you can tap into their imagination, it's a beautiful thing to witness. And this was the other part of the story. Actually, last week, if some of you are tuned into the show last week, those of you who did, I mentioned that part of the job that I do on the side is I actually dress up as a variety of like superhero characters for kids' birthday parties. And for me, this has been a huge learning experience, because I've been able to witness firsthand what the imagination of a child is like. So I mean, when I show up as Spider-Man or something like that, I mean, for the most cases, the kid doesn't really question it. It's like it does, like, to them that is real because Spider-Man is right there and he is talking to them. That is what makes it real. And then today I was Mario and I was playing with the kids, and Mario it's amazing that Mario is still popular today, and that's because there was a new game that came out recently with him. But I mean, in that scenario, I was playing with the kids and I was like asking them, you know, like, oh, what are the different super abilities that Mario has? And they were like, flower power, and they was like, yeah, shoot the fireballs. And they were like, oh, excuse me, I just choked on my own excitement there, but I was
fireballs over there.
Yeah, I was shooting fireballs, but
yeah, tone it down, dude.
Yeah, and then, you know, just getting them involved and getting them really active with their imagination was a really exciting thing to witness. And then the other part of the story that I specifically wanted to share, just to sort of share this really sincere moment that I've actually replicated numerous times with the kids, is I would tell them a story and I would get them sitting down and I would be like, all right, everybody put on their super ears, like put their super listening ears on, you know, make sure they're paying attention. And then I told them this story, and then in the Mario story, long story short, it was about the secret world that I went to, and I said that there was a wizard, and this wizard gave me a special coin, and the coin was a magic wish coin. And I told them, I said, now this coin is a very special coin, but the whole idea behind it is that it has the power to grant each person here a single wish, but the wish will only come true if you make a wish in a way that will help somebody else. And then it's like, oh, okay, you know, so rather than just saying like, oh, you know, I want to get like a bunch of candy or I want a new like Transformers toy. It's like, no, like getting them to think in a way that's like, you know, benevolent, and getting them to really like be passionate in that sense. And then to be able to invite the kids to be able to share what their wish was throughout the day. And, you know, some of the kids were wishing, they're like, one of the young girls, she was like, I wish that everybody in the world had friends. And it's just like, oh, you know, like that's a great wish. And then of course, you know, one of the other wishes from another part, it's like one of the kids was just like straight up, he's just like, I wish that there was like no more war, sort of thing. So I mean, it's really neat because these kids, as young as they are, like they're not stupid. Like just because a kid is young does not mean that they're not intelligent, and that's where we're going again back to what we were talking about, is being able to foster that innate intelligence and that innate creativity that is already there and is ready to blossom. And one of the things that I want to get into, and then I'll pass this around, was just kind of tying it back into like, I think it's important to be able to get a kid inspired, to be able to figure out what their mission is, or to be able to reflect on the idea of what is their personal legend, which is kind of referring to like the story of the alchemist sort of thing, and going back to the idea that like the entire world that we are in is a school in itself. Like you don't need to sit in a classroom. You can be out. You can just go like to another country and get off a plane and start walking around, and that is your school. And what I was going to say, going back to the festival culture thing, just a huge shout out to the entire people behind the Lucidity Festival. And those of you who aren't familiar, just plugging it here real quick, I was fortunate enough to be at the Lucidity Festival last year, and I was able to witness a lot of this. And this is a festival that's in California, lucidityfestival.com. And part of the reason why I was there is because I was creating the movie Journey to Lucidity, which is available through the main website and also available on DVD. And shout out to the 3 people who have ordered it so far. Big shout out to them. And you can watch the whole movie at ParadigmCentral.com/JTL or Facebook.com/Journey to Lucidity. And it's actually funny because Joyous is actually in the movie. And I was mentioning this to him earlier. There's like one shot at the closing ceremony, and Joyous was actually in the circle. And me and him never actually got a chance to talk when we were there, but I knew who he was, and then I just didn't end up seeing him again. And there's a funny shot of him wearing this nifty like triangle pyramid headpiece sort of thing, which is pretty funny looking. But totally just
head pyramid.
Yeah, exactly. Just totally just like in the moment and everything like that. But what I was just gonna say, just wrapping up this point, is that through me being there and through me creating this movie, I think that one of the most powerful ways that we can teach kids is by creating conscious media. And this is what Joyce was talking about before. Like some kids, they don't there's different ways kids learn. We were taught this when we were growing up. Some are more auditory, some are more like visual sort of thing. But I think if we can create stories to share with the children that inspire them, that speak to their soul, so to speak, then I think that is a very, very potent thing. And that's actually like what I aim to do with the Journey to Lucidity movie, which is why it's proven quite well. It's succeeded quite well with youth. Like there was a past episode where one of our friends called in, Jody, and she said that she showed the Journey to Lucidity movie to a young boy who is diagnosed, quote unquote, with ADHD, and she said that he was able to watch the entire movie and he was actually like really inspired by it. So that like touched me in knowing that it is possible, is successful in that sense. And just tying this in with yesterday, I went and I saw the movie 47 Ronin, which not to get an entire film review, but I definitely suggest people see it, because that in itself is like this story from Japanese culture that has been passed on for eons. And that story in itself is a story that they would share with young children, young men, to inspire them to strive to be like honorable. But it's very interesting because like within the theme of the movie, there's actually these underlying themes that relate to the idea of like the life mission, the life path, and also reincarnation as well. So I thought it was really interesting. But again, just emphasizing the potency of creating conscious media and of the ability of creating storytelling, but also inviting the children, the youth, to be involved with the creation of that interactive story. And again, what you were saying earlier as well with Joyce, you were talking about like getting them involved with like live action role play and everything like that. Like I think that's an amazing idea. It's just get kids out in the forest and get them like shooting lightning bolts at each other, just straight up LARP style sort of thing. I think that's a great way to get kids excited to get them excited to be alive. Like I'm pretty excited to be alive right now, and I think the more people who are reminded of the reasons why it's exciting to be alive right now will continue to be excited, and that inspiration will just continue to pass on forward. But yeah, like I mean, if you guys got a direct response to that, that's totally cool. And there's another question, and maybe Joyce can just answer this as well in response. Somebody in the live chat, they were just sort of asking if there was a particular age range that you were sort of designing some of this educational program towards. I mean, I imagine that it's pretty broad. I imagine that this can sort of be applied to quite a broad age range. But Joyce, maybe if you just wanted to respond to that and just anything else from what I've talked about with storytelling and just the power of that as well.
Well, absolutely. I'll start with that question and go into storytelling, which has been proven time and time again to be one of the most effective, powerful forms of transfer of information over millennia. Sacred songs, storytelling, dance, these have been the ways that we've shared wisdom. And they're very powerful and they're tangible. And when you engage the imagination and the body at the same time, you really ground in that wisdom. Versus me, if you ask me to quote anything I learned in college or high school, good luck. It wasn't exciting. Sure, I could get an A on it, but it was basically rote memorization, regurgitation. I'm mainly focused on youth, people under 21, but I am focused on people of all ages, and everything we do is scalable. So there's certain core fundamental pieces that I think are necessary for us all to at least grasp. Again, like impeccable communication, healthy self-care practices, advanced nutritional awareness based on your own genetic sequencing, not on some already proven wrong pyramid, your core life competency and purpose, your passion. There's certain things that are scalable along the age range. To me, I'm most excited about youth because they're already in their imaginative faculties, so they have the power to dream new worlds and the possibility. And you see all these quote-unquote prodigies, the young kid who just figured out a solution to pick up all the ocean, or all the plastic in the oceans, or the 12-year-old who reinvented solar tech. I believe these kids were given a fertile background by their parents, as well. Of course, they basically were given the right criteria to embrace what they were already good at, and every child has that capacity when their imaginative flame is stoked. So I'm very interested in working with the passion and the emotional authenticity. I have no problem with a kid, yelling at me in a moment or whatever. He's being authentic. I will work with him so we may better learn to express ourselves in a healthy way, and yet I prefer people being radically authentic in the moment, realizing if you watch the beauty of a kid, they stub their toe, they're crying, a minute later they see a butterfly and they're ecstatic. That is vulnerability, that is integrity to the self, to what is being felt, and to express it. And we just learn to refine that over time so that we don't cause harm to others in our expression. So for me, everything that I'm most interested in youth, but everything we're doing with youth can easily be scaled to people of any age. And our Transdimensional Illumination was created to have projects that encompass the full spectrum. Again, we're interested in sharing educational content and facilities for people desiring a conscious birth, all the way through a conscious transition from the body. Every bit of wisdom that is appropriate for every different age range is something that we're looking to cater toward, based on a core foundational philosophy of share learning, schooling for heart activation and resonant experience. What brings you joy? Why are you here? Great. Now here are the open source tools and solution sets to help you get there, to step into your innate brilliance. So I hope that answers the question. It really is for people of all ages, and my core focus is the youth of today, even though I do work with people, many adults, and that's part of the work I'm doing, is actually taking this core foundation that I've developed and other partners of mine have developed. I have a partner named Mark Chasen who developed a company called Awe Global, which has multiple subsidiaries, multiple vertical companies under it, to develop integrative wellness centers, entrepreneurial education, and sustainable community development. So there's a lot of overlay there. And he developed a program called Medicine, which is an acronym, starts with meditation and then exercise, through internal cleansing, epigenetic factors. It's this whole program with a wonderful acronym. It really is medicine for the people. So we're taking these programs that have been designed for youth and bringing them into the adult world, specifically into the corporate world, because that's where the core dysfunction lies today. Again, I'm most interested in the youth because they're the most receptive and they're the most evolutionary. They're the ones who can take what we've created and enhance it and enrich it and take it to places that we've never dreamed of. And those adults who are running corporate America, who are specifically running the big multinationals, how do we get this education to them in a format that's conducive to their learning style? It's something that they'll understand and that they will accept, even if we have, we do have to go in basically on the pretenses of this affects your fiscal bottom line. And we can prove it, and here's the metrics. But then once we're in, how do we do that corporate shaman work? How do we really bring in the intelligence, the wholehearted leadership, the ecosystemic health practices of the individual and the organization as a whole into that arena?
Mm-hmm. Phil, do you have any responses to that? I mean, I think there's a couple of interesting directions I'd like to be able to take this, but just checking in.
Yeah, I actually want to hand over the mic to my buddy here who has an interesting perspective to share. So I'm going to just hand it over here.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, man.
Super grateful to hop on the show for just a moment. This is Nathaniel Solis.
That's
and
go ahead, man.
And I love Joyous and Skull Babylon so much. Miss you guys a lot. I just Philosophical is over at my place right now, and I've been listening into the show for a bit. Super grateful that you guys have Joyous on, and I just want to hop in real quick and definitely affirm the fact that I've been working with Joyous on a personal and intimate level with the Timeless Movement off and on for the last few years, and I can just totally affirm that what this guy is creating is incredible. It's really one of the more, I've been studying this stuff very, very intensively, and what this brother has put together, the scalability of it, the depth of it is very, very powerful and very, very much so something I just want to re-encourage everyone to really, really check out and pay attention to. Now is the time more than ever for us to invest in systems that actually work and to take some time to really figure out what those are. And I just want to encourage everyone on the show, since we're in the realm of education just for the time being, really, really just give yourself the opportunity to just ask yourself, what are all the things you want to learn? Like, you can literally learn whatever you want and know that whatever you want to learn, somebody is doing it, and that somebody can be your teacher. And and most of the time they're just a Google search away, or they're just ask some friends and family away. But just know that like the world is totally at your fingertips right now. You can literally be whoever you want to be right now. And the more you pay attention to people like Skull Babylon and the Paradigm Shift community, this radio show, Joyous and his movement, even Philosophical has got an incredible conscious creative expression program that's coming out, an educational program that's super phenomenal. It's just all over the place. You literally can't get away from it. So just sending you guys lots of love, and education is where it's at. We're so
right
smart.
on, man. Thanks, Nathaniel, man. It's awesome to hear from you, man. Thank you so much. Cool. I'm sure I'll be syncing up with you guys come April when I'm back there for Lucidity. I'll be looking forward to that and everything. That'll be cool, man.
Yeah, come play with us in Ohio.
And everybody else is invited too. So again, lucidityfestival.com, and message me for a special promo code if you need it, if you're getting a ticket. But that's in April 11th to 13th, so be the time of your life. Check it out. But yeah, man, definitely. I think again, this definitely, there's, like you said, there's so much to learn, and that was kind of what I was going to segue into. Like, let's put forth some examples of some things that we could teach some kids about. Because I mentioned yoga and I mentioned meditation. For me, like, I would love, and this has been an idea I've had for a while, I would love to sort of address how is a practical way that we can teach kids about a concept such as chakras and be able to have them integrate that, to be able to have them embody that into how they perceive and interact with the world around them. And then going even further, like getting into topics like lucid dreaming and getting kids like writing down their dreams at a young age. Like, those are personally things that I am fascinated in. But yeah, just kind of putting it out there. What would you guys be interested in teaching kids? What do you think they would be interested in learning about, and how do you think we would go about doing that in effective ways? So either Joyous or putting it to Joyous first, but yeah.
Wonderful. Well, you hit the nail on the head there. Those are a couple things I think are fundamental. When I look at certain very advanced human beings from other countries who grew up in a completely different cultural context, the ones who are the most advanced, or seemingly so, are those who were taught introspection, inner reflection techniques such as meditation from a very young age. They're completely equanimous. They're at peace with themselves and thus with the world. And it's amazing to look at the whole demeanor. They're holding no tension in the body. It's beautiful to see these youth who are really at one with the universe, that they're a sovereign self and yet at peace with all that is. So the yogic philosophy is a very broad term, and taking out the philosophy and the deities that are associated with Hinduism that some people may not understand, at a core basis, even though for me on my path as a yoga sharer, that was essential to learn all of it. It's just the core basics of dhyana, or meditation, getting people to sit in stillness or practice walking meditation, but times of inner solitude, of recharging the battery, if you will, of the bioelectrical computer that we are, and then the physical movement, the asana, the yoga postures. Essential. You're keeping your mind and your body limber, flexible, strong, healthy. It's essential. You only have one of these beautiful vehicles, and it's much easier to have physical, psychological health, stay in a state of integrity on the health continuum by doing daily practice from a young age than it is to try to regress it later on. Going backwards is much harder because we're always ever going forward, so then you're going against the current. And so for me, those are two essential practices. I love the idea of bringing the different energy centers, or the chakras, to the awareness of youth. I think that modern science, thank God, is catching with ancient science, which is often known as spirituality. And we're beginning to prove things such as our DNA feeds on light. There actually was something in the Vedas that they were right. They talk about flying machines, and they also talk about that the majority of our nourishment comes from raw energy. Oxygen and water are most essential to us on the more embodied, even though oxygen is still much more etheric, but on the embodied level, those molecules are essential. And then light, absorbing light, is essential. So showing children how they are a rainbow of colors how they are absorbing a rainbow of frequencies through their food and through the sunlight before it is even manifest into physical reality, into food. They're absorbing all the colors of the rainbow, and how there's different places in their body that correspond with different colors and thus different feeling states. And I've had a lot of fun working with children in yoga and getting them to express different noises, or basically they're feeling, after they've seen these different energy centers, express the feelings that are associated with it, act it out, do animal yoga, really get into the body and feel it viscerally. As science has proven today, that our heart center, there's actually brain cells we found in our heart, and it's the power center of our body, 1,000 times electromagnetically stronger than our brain, and our feelings are hundreds of times more powerful than thought. So yes, thought follows energy, but really tapping into the feeling state of something is essential. And I think that's again where the confluence of the ancient ways of playing outside and bringing technology, or bringing learning, bringing education, the process of revealing into the natural world, and allowing children to learn actual vital life skills in addition to some of this more homogenized, mainstream, pedagogic information, which is helpful. I mean, thank God we can all read. It's beautiful. It's really supported the information age that we're in right now. At the same time, what are the other things that parallel that are at least as important, if not more so, to the true health of the individual? And so taking that practice externally and the embodied experience, and then using modern tech. And that is, again, where kids today are being handed smartphones and iPads to take advantage of it and use databases like the one we're creating to bring them to information that is very accessible and highly entertaining, where they're listening and looking and sometimes even giving biofeedback into the machine, all at the same time, which really embodies it, rather than there's whole studies on seeing something versus hearing it. And when you see it and hear it at the same time, you have the highest adoption rate by far, leagues beyond doing either alone or any other type of style. So this is a way of actually embodying the wisdom and making it fun. And there's all kinds of fun data visualization technologies now where we can actually project onto a model live, or let the kids experience what they look like in a screen in real time with these colors overlaid on their body. And there's even technologies that can show what some people call their auric field, or the electromagnetic field around their body, and how its color shifts when they're in different states of feeling. There's also amazing technologies that are used for brainwave entrainment. So, there's all the delta, alpha, beta. You have these different brainwave states that are all correlated with different states of consciousness, restfulness, or supercharged activity, or more meditative. And you can actually train your brain to harness whichever one of those you want in any given moment, and you can get biofeedback. I mean, there's even things as far as you can hook your brain up through some electrodes, non-invasively to the side of your head, and fly a helicopter only if you're in a certain brainwave state. So there's all kinds of fun technologies that we can take the esoteric wisdom and make it really tangible and fun for kids of today. Real quickly, other subjects in addition to yoga and meditation, which to me go hand in hand, that are essential, are sacred geometry. We learn geometry, but really going into the implications of universal mathematics, vortex-based mathematics that are beyond linear because the universe is fractal. And I hold the theory most true that time-space bends back in on itself. So we're living in a multiverse of infinite probability, of infinite parallel time-space continuums. And so to be able to visualize that and to understand some of these higher realms of physics and metaphysics that are getting remembered now, I think are essential, and the power of some of the Platonic solids like the pyramid and what the magic of the pyramid, really doing some hardcore research into these shapes and their applications in our life. I think these are essential. I think vocal toning, musical expression is essential. Everything is light and sound. So playing with vibratory frequency, I think is again, I don't really like anything being a set standard, but however, I do like the idea of a highly suggested guideline that people may follow. Again, still picking out okay, now we see that we have a block for, learning or vibrational calisthenics and learning, musical genius. Doesn't mean that you all have to go play guitar. Which instrument are you most excited about? Really allow, and it doesn't have to be band camp when you get into high school, but from a young age, learning to express through the voice and through instruments your unique heart song, bringing that out into the world, I think is essential. And I find that musicians have a very rare state of being, and they're much more calm and collected in life due to that art. Any kind of creative exploration, though, I think is essential, and it's really sad. I was just talking to some people who are pretty deep in the Portland educational community, and even out here in Oregon, where it's one of the most progressive states by far, there's all these cutbacks for art class and other types of creative outlets within schools. So while we're, again, enforcing these really blah, testing tests that really don't prove anything and really just cripple the imaginative capacity of the individual, we're now taking away more and more of their ability to be outside and to have creative expression. So I think shifting that and really saying, look, obviously the path we're going on is not working. You can't solve a problem from the same state of being, the same mentality that you had to create it. And that's what we're doing here, is compounding it every year. It's getting worse. So let's switch that around and really focus more on the creative expansion and the creative exploration in all subjects than on the other. So I think those are some important things. And again, I think reading, writing, arithmetic, these can be wonderful subjects to share. It's just the way they're shared and in what time frame. It's really putting the power back in the hands of the student and first getting them into their emotional intelligence, their core life purpose, their excitement to learn, and the different biohacks, the mental hacks they can use to master learning. Because once you learn how to master a subject, it's easy to master anything. So getting those down and getting down their relationship with others and their self-care and their healthy body maintenance practices before going into some of these other subjects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I will say, guys, it's been a pleasure so far, and we've definitely covered a lot of ground, and obviously there's an infinite amount of more to potentially cover, and we only have 22 minutes left in the show. There's a couple other key things that I would be able to hit upon, just some of the big questions that people might be having, though I would like to be able to end it with a group meditation as well. So with about 10 minutes left in the show, I'll just remind us again, and we'll do the raffle draw for the free shift buttons at the 10-minute mark. So people who want to be entered into the draw for the free shift buttons, all you got to do, last chance, last call, is to send a message to facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio. And as it is right now, we're only giving away one batch because we haven't received any new donations for the GoFundMe.com/ParadigmShiftCentral free buttons fund. But if we do get a new donation within the next few minutes, then we will be able to give out 2 batches this week. But either way, stay tuned for that and get involved with the draw if you want the free buttons. But what I was going to say before we get there is just some of the one thing I wanted to hit upon real quick is when we're talking about like being able to change the way as to how the fundamental education system is set up, I think it's so important to be able to readdress like this whole grading system, and this is something we touched upon earlier. But a kid shouldn't make like something as subjective as art with the intention of it being graded. I mean, I think the reward should be in the completion of the project itself, and I think they should be encouraged to go beyond the expectations of what the assignment may be, and for them to be able to receive reward in accomplishing the experience and experiencing the experience in itself, opposed to just trying to meet the expectation of a teacher. But I mean, if you guys want to throw in some thoughts about that, but what I was going to say, really hitting upon a key question here, for a lot of people who are listening, a lot of people who may have children of their own who are listening, and shout out to all those people who are out there, who are parenting children and who are helping bring up the youth of today to be able to create the world of tomorrow. What would they do in a situation where their kid is in one of the standard educational systems? Like, how do we go about, like, what solutions can we provide them? I mean, opposed to just taking their kid right out of school and not being able to immediately affect the school that they may be in at that time. I mean, I'm putting that out there. Maybe Phil, if you want to answer that first, and then Joyous. But again, like, what can we suggest to the people whose children are in a school right now and are sort of quote unquote stuck in the system? Like, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I'll speak to that for a moment. I would suggest just really, I think what kids are craving most is one-on-one attention, and really just knowing that someone, whoever it is, cares about them and cares about their dreams and what they really want to do. So I think more than really any complex schooling system. I mean, there's plenty ones out there. I mean, I know kids in Waldorf school, in unschooling, in homeschooling. I think those three are all on the cutting edge. But just if you're a parent, and I plan to be a parent someday, just really giving the kid one-on-one attention and honoring them as if they were an adult that would need one-on-one attention. Because I think one reason why kids resort to electronics and whatnot is because they're not being engaged in other ways. The parents come home from work stressed out. I mean, this is a mainstream situation, but in my life, it's like my parents would come home from work tired, all this stuff. They wouldn't really have the energy to, go play a sport with me outside or something like that per se. But I think just giving kids real one-on-one attention, and another key point is just asking them questions about everything. I love to ask questions, and I think that just posing questions to kids about everything, like what emotion are you feeling right now, things like that, are really good ways to just check in with these shrunken humans.
Cool. Anything more on that, Phil, or is that?
What'd you say?
Oh, just checking. I wasn't sure if you're anything more on that. Or
No. That's my main thing. Asking them questions.
I agree. Yeah.
Doing one-on-one attention, and then the Waldorf unschooling and homeschooling.
Cool. Yeah, no, definitely. That's like, again, kind of going back to what I do with the birthday parties and the stuff. I find that that's how you get the kids excited, is when you ask them, like, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Opposed to just telling them what to think. You're asking them, you're inviting them to think for themselves, which is really, the fundamental thing. Even this whole paradigm shift project, again, keeping in mind that what we're trying to do here is create some sort of fundamental space that will create a pattern that will lead on to the future. I've always said from the beginning, this show is not about telling you what to think. It's about encouraging you to think for yourself. And just, I think it's definitely exciting when you show a kid, be like, I don't understand why kids don't get excited about when they walk into libraries anymore. I guess they've just sort of been, their expectations have sort of been stumped by what they can access immediately on the internet. But even still, when you show them a place and say, like, here's some topics, take your time, explore them, and intuitively explore them, jump from one to another. And this is actually something that I've been creating through the website, through the encyclopedia. But again, let me just pass this over to Joyous. Joyous, going back to sort of the original question, for the people whose kids may still be in institutions and so forth, what suggestions can you put forward to them?
Well, first of all, tune in with yourhearthub.com as soon as we launch, which you can stay up to date with by signing up for the newsletter at timelessearth.com. That's the first step. And then also really encourage your children to find other avenues of creative expression outside of the learning environment, which is just so stale. I know it's a hard position for a lot of parents to be in. I talk to dozens and dozens of parents quite frequently about the balance of, they have a lot of peer pressure coming in from others who if they've chosen to take their kids out of school and they're thinking about it, like, you're crazy, your kid's going to fail. I would say take the time to find the documentaries out there, such as the one that shows the fallacy of the statistics around college and how so many people are going into debt for degrees they'll never use, and how it's really an outdated system in many ways, unless you're going there to be, a brain surgeon. Take your time to educate yourself there, and then share that with your youth if you feel so called, and then ask them what is it that excites you? Like, how can we make this experience of learning more fun? How can we play our way together to a greater level of joy and realization in this life? I think it really comes back to feedback with the youth today. One of the biggest problems is we've given our responsibility away, including with our children. We send them away. We don't have to teach them about sex. A lot of times it's the birds and the bees, two completely, different species. We don't have any feedback with our kids. We expect our teachers, who are underpaid and many of whom aren't happy, to be sharing wisdom with the children. And again, that goes to the teachers. I know many teachers, it's a very hard process for them as well. So for teachers and parents, start really coming together around forums like the one we're launching to share your voice, because the more of us that come together, we've seen what global mass action does. The more of us that come together, we get to a tipping point 50.001% is all we need to catalyze a complete ecosystemic shift in the arena of education. So begin to share your voice, take time to inform yourself with solutions that are out there. Look at ARROW, the Alternative Educational Resource Organization, .org website. They have a list of a lot of different types of alternative educational philosophies. You can also look at the Barefoot College in India, which is an exceedingly inspiring model of an alternative educational. I won't even go into what the center offers. Just look it up. Trust me, it's incredible. The Kin schools, specifically TEKOS, TEKOS in Russia, are an exemplary example of what's possible when youth are allowed to be in charge of the process of their own learning. I would encourage TED Talk viewings with your children of some of these young kids on TED Talks, on TED Ed, or other places on the web. But Logan LaPlante, and what's the other boy who was speaking out about how he was a voice for his generation. He's 11 years old, not being the unhealthiest generation in the last 500 years because of the highly processed, highly polluted world that they're inheriting, and the fact that most of them never get real, true, structured water or real food. So he's like a huge proponent for the youth around health and food sustainability. Watch these kids. Watch them with your youth. See the spark go off in your child's eyes because they have creative potential. And for them to see, wow, I can be recognized as a valuable member of society. I have so much to contribute, and I'm seen for that. I think that ultimately is one of the best ways to go to inspire children and make the process easier and more exciting for all parties involved. Again, if you sign up for the newsletter at timelessearth.com or learningpassion.com, we'll be having daily blogs coming out. We're just picking those back up. Daily blogs, and every 2 weeks we'll have a newsletter going out from each of those sites that have lists of solutions for parents and educators and youth to find different amazing technologies, tools, platforms, classes, courses that are created from within our collective and sourced from around the world in a compilation to benefit you in this process of discovery.
Right on, man. Definitely. Cool. Well, we're just about at that time, about to pass our way through the Stargate with 11:11 coming up on the clock in terms of the amount of time left in the show. So setting forth the intention to be able to put in the work today, to stand for tomorrow today, as I say sometimes, to be able to do what we can to build those trees for the children of tomorrow to sit under in the shade. But definitely, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. And just kind of one last thing that I just had in terms of my own personal experience, I think it's important for the people who do have their children in these institutions, and even for anybody who's still in the institutions, is to don't hate the institutions, but rather still see them as an opportunity in the fact that you yourself, as a higher conscious being, have chose to be in this experience, have chose to be in this psychological gymnasium. And yes, it may be challenging. Yes, it may be stressful, but use this as a chance to practice. Use this as a chance to be able to refine your mind, to be able to challenge your patience, and to be able to become stronger through the process. For myself, going through college and everything like that, I could have easily complained about it, but rather I took a lot of time on my own to be able to continue my studies with the things that I was personally interested and passionate about, and then to be able to use the college as a physical location for me to be able to connect with other people, with other like-minded people, and to be able to help assist in the awakening process by continuing the conversations with the people in my classes who I knew were also kind of in a similar state as me. And then through that, again, kind of going back to the original idea I was talking about, we created those friendships, and then from those friendships you realize that you're not alone, and through that community support, it helps everyone continue to grow. So that would just kind of be my thing, is that encourage a kid, if you have a young kid in school, to still be excited about learning a lot of the stuff outside of school, and then encourage them to be able to help share what they are passionate about with some of the other children in their classrooms, and to be able to help get them excited about the alternative, conscious, crazy stuff that's all out there, and some of the stuff that, we're more than happy to be able to help present to them as we continue to create more conscious media through this entire project. So I will just say, as we get ready to move into our meditation, and let me just double check, Joyous, are you down to lead us into our meditation? Does that sound good?
I'd love to. You just want me to keep it in 5 minutes so you can do the drawing before the clock runs out?
That's right. I'll do the draw. I'll do the draw right now, and then we'll have about 5-6 minutes to officially go through this. And while we're doing the draw, let me just say to everybody in the live chat, thank you so much for being here. And just a quick reminder for everybody, this is a great opportunity for us to be able to connect with shifters from all across the globe. So for everybody in the live chat, right now, post in your Facebook profile links or any other website that you have, and consider that an invitation for anybody here to be able to connect with you. So do that right now as I get ready to be able to draw the winner of tonight's shift buttons for this week. And fund-wise, through the GoFundMe page, GoFundMe.com/ParadigmShiftCentral, we are still sitting at $88, which is totally cool, which means we'll still give away one batch this week. But for more funds that we get in there by next week, that means that we'll have more batches to give away as well. So let me just put in a little ohm here as I sort of check in with the universe to see what it's going to synchronistically choose for us, whose lives are going to be changed in this moment. So if I can get a little ohm from everybody. Oh, man, the universe has chosen Alexis, right on. All right. I'm not sure if Alexis is actually tuned in tonight, but I will be sending her a message, so she'll be getting her batch of free shift funds. And, of course, thank you to people who donate to that fund. You're helping us pay it forward. And, again, if you enjoy Paradigm Shift Radio, if you enjoy what this show is about, please continue to support the creation of conscious media by becoming a monthly supporter for only $4 a month. And you can do that through the main website, ParadigmShiftCentral.com/donate, helping us change the future one radio show at a time, one smile at a time. And it's the little things that make the big difference. So, again, thank you, everybody. And, and just another reminder, the live chat for this will be up through the Facebook page at facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio. And, of course, share this episode with your friends after you've listened to it, and keep an eye open for it on YouTube and continue to share it afterwards. Us being able to share it is us being able to help plant seeds, which will birth new realities. And, of course, if you're inspired by this, then consider starting up a Paradigm Shift community in your location. That's exactly what we're talking about here tonight, creating space to be able to help foster in education for the future. So I'm going to stop talking there, and I'm going to pass this off to Joyous, and he's going to get us set up with the meditation. So Joyous, I'm going to play some background music for the meditation, and then you can sort of talk over top of it, and you can just guide us through it. And we got about 6.5 minutes, but yeah, let's keep it within 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap up the show after that. And there will be a video after party hangout. Keep an eye open for that at the facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio. So anybody who wants to continue the conversation, join into the after party hangout afterwards. So, all right, we're all good. Okay, so Joyous, it's all you from here, man.
Aloha, beloved co-creators of reality. Wherever you are in this moment, as long as it's safe, take a moment to just close your eyes. Feel into your body. Feel that unique rhythmic pulsation that is your heartbeat, that has never been embodied before in this configuration and never will be again. You are a brilliant ray of consciousness, a spark of divinity experiencing itself in human form, the entire universe in one perspective. Take a moment to honor this sacred beat, this rhythmic pulsation that is breathing you into existence just as you perceive yourself to be breathing yourself into reality. Honor this sacred mind-body temple that you've been gifted, that continuously every day you choose to wake up within, to realize your limitless purpose, passion, and potential through. Let's take 3 of the deepest breaths of our life and embody the wisdom that was shared today from both those who spoke and those who sat and listened. We are all co-creating this moment. We are all uniquely gifted and essential to the emergent worldview that is blossoming now. So let's take those 3 deep breaths together. Inhale fully and completely, filling yourself with the prana, with the conscious life force of all that is. Exhale, release all stagnant energy, all that no longer serves, all that is not this moment. Release it from your field. Take another deep, life-affirming inhale. Once you get to the top, I want you to keep filling up. Take another burst of air. Feel every cell in your body oxygenated and filled with light, filled with the rainbow and source energy of ultimate consciousness. And exhale, release all that no longer serves and all that holds you to anything but the brilliant miracle of the now. One more deep inhale. Nourish this vessel of consciousness that you are with deep gratitude. Feel the gratitude for life. Use a thought to get to something that brings you joy, that brings you a state of appreciation, and then drop into that feeling state. Exhale, release. Continue to breathe deeply this night, whatever time zone you're in, wherever you are. You are in the timeless now. You are a paradigm-shifting agent on this planet. Mother Earth is calling to you. Her vibratory tones are raising up. The Solfeggio tones of this planet, the Schumann resonance, are rapidly shifting and elevating. They are sending in their oscillations to higher vibratory frequencies. And we, as cells of the Earth, as her eyes and ears, are being asked to and moved to do the same. Let us embrace this expansion of human awareness of our own sovereign dominion and our delightful collective communion. Let us find healthy balance with the ego and the self as we come into the collective we-go in our conscious communities, in our festivals, in our wellness centers, in our learning centers, those that already exist that we're bringing our consciousness into to elevate, and those that we are newly forming. Continue to breathe deeply into this world of your ultimate creation, knowing that just as the figures that have come before you, JFK, MLK, Paramahansa Yogananda, Mahatma Gandhi, people who touched the lives of millions and brought peace and love to the hearts of so many, it's possible within you just by believing. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dream. Envision your ultimate reality now as you continue to breathe deeply, honoring your sacred truth and the beautiful, brilliant, blessed reflection of all that is within this quasi-crystal of universal consciousness. I honor you. I cherish you. I thank you. And I love you. Continue to radiate love, for it is metaphysical gravity, and it is the sign of true power in the world of today, in this beautiful now. Thank you for being the vibrant, living embodiment of who you are. And as Skull Babylon leads us off this call today, remember to stay in your truth, stay in your authenticity, in your beauty, and continue to breathe deeply every day in every way. With that, Takuyasin Lakesha Lakin, Namaste, Amen, Shalom, Salam, Aloha.
Mm-hmm.
Aloha indeed. Thank you,
Aloha.
brother.
Thank you, brother.
Right on, man.
Jinx.
Yeah. That was awesome. Cool, man. All right, so 60 seconds on the clock, and just again, thank you guys so much for being here tonight, and for everybody listening to this, check out timelessearth.com, and I'm sure Joyous will be able to, he would love to connect with you on Facebook, and you can find him on Facebook. Just run a search on Joyous Presence as well, and of course, there will be the after party happening, so the show is wrapping up, but the conversation continues. So for those of you looking to join the after party, I'll have the link up for that very soon, so go to facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio and be able to jump into that or watch it on YouTube. And of course, if you enjoy the show, then please just share it with your friends, and more so than that, go out there and spread the love with your physical communities. And of course, if you want to order some shift buttons, you can do that through the main website. And again, just thank you so much for everybody for being a part of this. So Phil, Joyous, join me in saying farewell to the internet once again and inviting them back to join us next week. So farewell, internet. Bye-bye for now.
Farewell.
Bye, internet.
Farewell.
Take care, guys.
Stay connected.
Be love.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Paradigm Shift Radio. If you would like to connect with people where you are and continue the conversations further, then check out ParadigmShiftCentral.com/buttons to order your supply of shift buttons to share with people to help invite them to this global project while also helping make new friends and building local community where you are. Shift buttons are tools to hack the matrix and tap into the synchronistic nature of reality to accelerate our collective awakening. Enter the promo code PSR into your order to receive additional bonus buttons to your supply. Thank you again, and one love.